Hello, Meoni here, and welcome to the patch 4.3 notes read out for you. This is designed in the aid of making things easier for you to listen rather than read through yourself. However, I will be making this fairly bite-sized as much as possible, so this hopefully won't end up 1 hour long like some of the other videos that could be out there. So patch 4.3 has a lot of notes here, and these are just the preliminaries. The full notes will only have a few adjustments and images and some item changes, but this should be the mainstay of what we can expect on May 22nd. However, obviously, the Weapons Refrain Ultimate has been delayed until patch 4.31. Heaven on High and the even further Hildebrand adventures are also delayed until patch 4.35, and the Forbidden Land of Eureka Pagos is not in this patch until 4.36. So with that in mind, let's look at what's in this patch. The new main scenario quests are in, and those currently start at the Ruby Bazaar offices at X 6.0, Y 6.1 at Alpha now. However, players must have first completed the main scenario quest Rise of a New Sun. The Four Lords quest will start in the Ruby Sea at X 27.8, Y 16.4 at an NPC called Bunchin. Players who wish to take part must first have completed the Chronicles of New Era quest, An Auspicious Encounter, which is to do with Byako from patch 4.2. Return to Ivlis, the new Alliance raid is being put into the game as of this patch, and you can find the prerequisite quest to actually get into the raid in Kagani at X 10.3, Y 12.0. And obviously you will need to have already completed the Chronicles of a New Era quest, A City Fallen, to do with the previous Alliance raid, Royal City of Rabanastre. New side story quests have been added to the game, including the Doman Enclave, which you can find at the actual Doman Enclave. If you completed 4.2 story, you will have access to that Aetheryte at X 5.5, Y 5.7 at the NPC Kozakura. The new Custom Deliveries NPC has been added to the game, and this is available for all Disciples of a Hand or Land at level 62 or above. At Kagani, this quest starts at X 10.1, Y 9.9 at the Kojin Hireling. Players, however, must have first completed the quests None Forgotten, None Forsaken, and the Two Princesses of Sui no Sato. Both of those quests are associated with the city of Sui no Sato in the Bubble City underneath the Ruby Sea, so go there to complete those quests if you want to take part in this new Custom Deliveries. The Namazu Beast Tribe has been added, and there's some new images here which look pretty adorable, but essentially this starts in the Azim Steppe at X 6.1, Y 23.3. A new Aetheryte has been added to this actual location. As you can see on the map here, it is far to the west of the Dawn Throne itself on the Rocky Mountains, and there's some nice images here as well. And obviously that comes with a series of quests there, which are all gated behind reputation advancement through the quests daily. So the Doman Enclave reconstruction effort has begun, and players can now donate unneeded items to help supply and finance the reconstruction of the Doman Enclave. Simply go over to the Doman Enclave NPC and you'll be able to take part. In exchange for items donated, players will receive a gratuity that amounts to slightly more than what would normally be received when selling said items to a vendor. Please note, however, the Enclave has a limited weekly budget to pay gratuity for donations. The budget will reset every week on Tuesday at 8 AM GMT. As players continue to make contributions, the Enclave will grow and change over time. If for any reason an item is donated by mistake, any of the last 100 donated items can be reclaimed, incurring a small transaction fee. Please note, however, reclaimed items will no longer contribute to the Enclave's reconstruction. The Lost Canals of Uznier and the Hidden Canals of Uznier have seen a series of new items added to it to help with the new crafting recipes that are also added in this patch. So the Adventurer Squadrons has got a change. The number of dungeons available for command missions has also been increased. We can now do Aurum Vale, Brayflux's Long Stop Hard, and Som Arl with our Adventurer Squadrons, which is pretty hype. I quite like this feature personally, and they snuck this one in at last minute. The Glamour Dresser has been updated, and now not only are you able to retrieve items you put into the Glamour Dresser and retrieve them into actual items again and vice versa, you're also able to directly change the appearance of your Adventurer Squadron members from this location as well. Lots of new craftable items have been added to the company workshop, which all appear to be associated with new subaquatic voyages. New voyage destinations have been added, and new items have been added obtainable through these voyages. The maximum rank for submersibles has now been increased from 20 to 30, and the maximum number of vessels allowed has been increased from 2 to 3. Housing has had a few updates. A new estate vendor NPC, the Journeyman Salvager, has been added. This NPC shares some of the functions of a Calamity Salvager, and now you can have one in your house, which saves you having to go all the way to the Arth Castle in Limsa Lominsa just to reclaim items, which is pretty cool. With this, the Beast Tribe has also added new NPCs like usual with the Ananta, etc., which you can have Namazu NPCs inside your house, which I'm definitely going to have. You can obtain these once you reach a certain rank with the Namazu Beast Tribe. Lots of new furnishing items have been added to the game. These were all people who won or were runners-up to the furnishing design contest a very long time ago, including a picnic blanket and basket, some housing items such as a chair with a chocobo on it, a tent decoration, a rice cake box, and some other items as well, which look pretty cool in these images. Housing has also received the message book furnishing, which allows you to rate people's houses and leave messages. You can obviously set various filters to who can see this or whether or not get their messages published instantly, or if you have to review them first. This includes an indoor and an outdoor item for you to use as well. Plenty of new orchestron roles have been added to suit the new fights, as you might imagine. However, there's a really nice housing feature that's changed here. The number of aquariums that can be placed in an apartment or estate has been increased. Previously, you could only have one aquarium per any house that you had, which was a bit of a painful limitation, especially to someone who loves fish as much as I do. However, those have been increased quite drastically. A private chamber or apartment can now have 4 aquariums instead of 1, a cottage can have 6, houses can have 8, and mansions can have 10. This update will be included in patch 4.3, but due to a critical issue, the number of aquariums will temporarily be limited to 4 per estate. Players will be informed when the issue has been resolved. This is pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to adding more aquariums to my house. I love having multiple tanks in real life, so it's going to be even better in the actual game. And of course, with this, new aquarium fish have also been added, which you can expect a video on in the future. New seeds for flower pots have been added, as you might imagine, which are available at various material suppliers, which look very pretty. A new awesome feature that people are hyped about is the ability to turn off city-state background music in residential areas. So instead of having to turn off all the background music in the game, you can now toggle the individual estate music on and off, which, you know, adds a lot of flexibility to people who just don't want to hear the Shirogane house theme every single 5 seconds. New triple Triad cards have obviously been added to the game. Their procurement is probably through raids and dungeons, and various new NPCs presumably. And the scoring system for the fashion report has apparently been adjusted, making it easier to earn marks. Presumably this is to make it a little easier to have more options for the fashion report to get over 80 points, so hopefully that lifts on that. We'll have to see more on that in the actual game on the 22nd. Players can now register for Chocobo races via the Duty Finder, matching with any players from the same data center, which is a pretty cool feature. There's lots of other information here on all different rank changes, and the entrance fee for all Chocobo races has been removed, and the position of a race Chocobo trainer has also been adjusted accordingly. This is pretty cool. Hopefully it gets people into Chocobo races. A lot of people aren't doing the minigames. It would be nice to actually do more of them. In regards to more minigames, Lord of Vermillion has also been changed. The NPC opponents have been added to tournaments, allowing for participation without battling other players, which is pretty big because there's not enough players to actually do the tournaments with. The difficulty of these opponents will scale with the number of victories a player has actually received, and obviously you'll get greater amounts of points with players that you battle against rather than NPC opponents, but it does mean that you can actually take part. Perform has had a lot of updates, including new sounds, flute, oboe, clarinet, a fife and panpipes, and have also adjusted a lot of the other sounds as well and changed their layout even more to make this big keyboard setting which you can rebind. The challenge log has had new additions, including Animos related things, Forbidden Ice, Forbidden Lightning, defeat 30 ice or lightning aspected enemies no more than 2 elemental levels below your own. So this is all catch-up mechanics to try and get people in there. It gives elemental experience points as a reward, and also Gil, They talked about this previously. They want people to go back into Animos because they know Pagos is coming out soon, and they don't want Animos to be like completely never done again. So this is a good way of catching up if people are still behind. They know that people aren't going to be going into Animos as much they are currently when Pagos comes out, so this is a good catch-up mechanic. And also there's challenge log entries for Lord of Vermillion as well, which reward 5 and 12,000 MGP for playing Lord of Vermillion 1 and 5 times respectively. Chloe's Wondrous Tales has had changes, and the rewards available for exchange using Chloe's Gold Certificate of Commendation have been changed, and Wondrous Tales objectives now include all areas of Omega Deltascape. New emotes have been added to the game. They're showing one here which seems to be a point upwards emote, and new hairstyles, which they're featuring one here which we've looked at before, which is that short quiffed hairstyle that I won't use personally because I don't like it. There's lots of battle system changes, but that's going to have to be a separate video. There's too much to look in. There's a lot of really cool stuff though. I'll update you later on that. So a new dungeon, the Swallow's Compass, has been added to the game. You need to be an average item level of 330 or above to queue into this for 4 players, and this is located in the Ruby Sea as part of the Four Lords storyline. So you continue this and you will get this from Bunchin, which is the same NPC as you get the next Four Lords part as well. You will obviously have needed to have completed the 4.2 An Auspicious Encounter questline with Bayako. New trials have been added to the game. They're not talking about those. However, you will need an average item level of 335 or above to actually get in this, and they're not saying where or what any of this is, so there's no point really talking about this, and we'll only really know about it on the actual patch day. Players will now receive the power of the Echo in the event of all party members being incapacitated during the following trials: the Jade Stoa Normal and the Jade Stoa Extreme. So Bayako is finally getting the Echo. So all of those of you who haven't done that before or want to go and farm some wolves, this might be the best time to do it. The Ridorana Lighthouse requires an average item level of 335 or above, and obviously with the new loot changes in here, you can only receive 1 gear reward per week for completing duties in the Ridorana Lighthouse. So the new loot system is greed only. You're not able to need anymore, so anyone who places greed, it's essentially the same system. You're still like rolling for an item, and if you win it, that's you loot locked for the rest of the week. However, it means that anyone that's not actually currently playing their main class can go in there and just roll on whatever they want, basically. Some people have said it's unfair, some people have said it's going to take forever to get the piece of loot that you want, and that arguably you should be going there on the actual job that you want the gear for, but that's a discussion for another time, and personally I think it's stupid, but there you go. Players who are outside the sealed area during boss battles in dungeons and raids will now have the heads-up display option to teleport directly into the fight itself. So if people are overeager and pull before someone has finished a cutscene, you'll get some time to be able to watch that cutscene, and then you'll be able to teleport straight into the fight with your friends and actually take part, which is a pretty cool feature. It'll probably be abused, but most things are that are good anyway. So the Palace of the Dead is getting changes in this patch, considering Heaven on High isn't in this patch, but Palace of the Dead is being changed. Aetherpool grips. If you have strengthened your Aetherpool arm and Aetherpool armor to +10 in addition to clearing floor 50 of the Palace of Dead, you can forge an Aetherpool grip, which can be used to exchange for a weapon of your choosing by speaking with the NPC Iuna Kotor in the South Shroud. Please note that creating an Aetherpool grip will reduce the strength of your Aetherpool arm and armor used inside the runes by 10. As you can see here, the various Padaji gear will require 3 Aetherpool grips each, and you will also need 1 Padaji axe, for example, and then 6 more Aetherpool grips to actually upgrade that to a keener weapon. So basically a few basic changes towards preparing for Heaven on High. The location of Magia Melders in Eureka Animos will now be displayed on the map and minimap, and the player list can now be sorted by expedition length and the elemental level of that player. The option to prioritize players looking for parties in the playlist has now been added. The weekly reward limit for Omega Sigmascape has now been removed. This is only on normal, obviously, but this means that you can go and farm as much gear as you want from normal. The only caveat to that is that the weekly limit on the crystalloids is still the same, so you cannot obtain more than 1 per week. A message will appear if you're applying to join a raid, which will cause you to forfeit 1 or more weekly rewards. This is to prevent people accidentally joining parties where they've already cleared one of the savage modes and then they're already locked out as soon as they teleport in, which was hard to do in the first place, but is now even more difficult to mess up. The drop rate for the legendary Kamui fifes in the Minstrel's Ballad Shinryu's Domain has also been increased, And obviously you can now exchange 99 Shinryu tokens for that wolf mount as well in Ralga's Reach. There's a new Duty Roulette. Duty Roulette normal raids has been added to the game. This actually allows you to queue in the various 3 wings of Alexander, including Omega Deltascape and Omega Sigmascape. The Roulette rewards 80 Elegant Tomestones of Poetics, 60 Tomestones of Creation, and 15 Tomestones of Mendacity. And Duty Roulette Expert has been changed as well. It now includes the Swallow's Compass along with Hell's Lid and the Fractal Continuum Hard, so you have a bit more variety instead of those 2. And in addition to this, the new trial that's not named, the Swallow's Compass and the Ridorana Lighthouse have also been added to the Duty Roulette Mentor as well. And Duty Roulette Mentor has had its item level increased from 325 to 335. This is a big one. The number of the type of Elegant Tomestones received for completion of the Duty Roulette main scenario have also been adjusted. Previously, it was a very long, unskippable cutscene adventure. It's still that, but instead of getting 200 Elegant Tomestones of Poetics, if you are the maximum level above then you will get 300 Elegant Tomestones of Poetics, 100 Creation, and 50 Mendacity for doing it, so that makes it even more worthwhile for people to go in there, so that's pretty good. There's a new item available in exchange for Barbot in Ralga's Reach. This is about hunt logs. You can now get the Doyen's Clanmark log, which is exchanged for 500 Centurio seals. And players can now exchange Rabanastan coins and one other currency for Ryumyaku Weave, Ryumyaku Polish by speaking with Ashina in Ralga's Reach. This new currency can be obtained from the new Alliance raid Ridorana Lighthouse, so you can get your upgrade items by basically exchanging your weekly tokens from those 2 raids. We're not going to look into PvP too much now, there's way too many changes to go through. Essentially I will just link this in the description and you'll need to check that out yourself. The only things that I will say is that there's a new rotation on the daily frontline that resets every day that you can take part in, that rewards lots of cool stuff. And the Feast is getting a new map, as we talked about in a previous video looking at the Feast changes, and lots of new heads-up display changes as well. In regards to items, there's a new set from the dungeons, and also there's a new glamour piece which is going to be crafted presumably by Weaver and will cost an absolute fortune, which is this sort of like summer dress, which I can't wait to get my hands on if I can afford it. So certain items released in or after patch 4.1, such as gear from the Royal City of Rabanastic, can now be sold, desimped, or submitted for expert delivery missions. And the following items can now be equipped by male characters, basically every single piece of the bunny set. They weren't sure when they were going to add this to the actual game, but it appears that you're getting it in this patch as well. So if you're big into gender neutrality, then you will like this. There are new Miner and Botanist gathering points. There's new items available from Rowan's House of Splendor script exchange. New fish have been added to the game. Locations of unspoiled mineral deposits on the Azim Steppe have been adjusted accordingly, considering there's new Namazu stuff. New items have been added to gathering points themselves. All the fishing locations on the Azim Steppe are now all level 60, which means that certain items have been changed where you can get them, and the number of fish that must be caught before swimming shadows appear has been reduced, which is a significant nerf. If you've ever tried to get one of the minions, then you'll know how long that takes. And players can now speak with Kurenai to complete their custom deliveries that we talked about earlier. New mounts have been added to the game, including the new Kamui, which has a purple glow on it, which is available on the new trial that hasn't been named. And new Chocobo barding has been added to the game, along with a load of new minions, which should excite anyone who likes minion videos. New achievements and titles have also been added to the game, as you might imagine. And there's a new achievement function where when you log into the game, a list of achievements nearing completion will now display. When you change an area, a list of achievements that can be earned there will now be displayed on screen as well. And now, players are now able to perform the following actions whilst in rooms. That includes synthesis, repairs, dye, casting glamour, materia assimilating, and retrieving materia. This is a big change for me personally, because when I'm messing around with a Glamour Dresser and I'm trying to apply a glamour, I actually have to leave the in-room, wait for that loading screen, apply a glamour, when I'm go back in the in-room, change it, go back out, and then apply the glamour. It's annoying, so that's a good change. Cross-world link shells are in this patch and have been implemented to enable communication between players on different servers, essentially making it so you can have cross-server guilds. There's a huge section on how to create them, but it's fairly self-explanatory through the social menus. And additional items can now be obtained via retainer ventures, including palladium ore, chromite ore, Girabanian spring water, Toria logs, Azim cotton balls, and snailfish. The duty recorder has also been changed. Now instead of a Jade Stower and a Jade Stower Extreme, you can now do Sigmascape 4 Savage. It doesn't seem to show that you can do Jade Stower anymore. I'm not sure why they would remove the duty recorder from that to Sigma 4 Savage, but either way it's kind of helpful, but you know, it's a bit late into it. A new category has been added to Unending Journey, which is the other duties, which includes cutscenes from the Palace of the Dead and the Forbidden Land of Eureka, which have been added to this section, so you can watch those back, which is pretty nice if you like me and sometimes you like to sit down and just watch the cutscenes back to back in your in-room. Map icons for non-player party members have been adjusted for easier differentiation between members. Now all those secondary things, including Eggies, Fairies, Turrets, Carbuncles and Chocobo companions, will now look like Mickey Mouse, or at least that's what I see it as in this image. New stuff has been added to the timing menu so you can easily track that, and the unlock quests for Summoner and Scholar will now appear together in the side quest section of the scenario guide upon completion of a level 30 Arcanist quest, so you don't have to search for those. A new full screen color filtering option has been added to the accessibility sections. This is to make it so that any item in the actual game you can filter out to different colors, so if you're colorblind of a certain color, then you can change this color wheel and make it so that you can actually play the game properly, which is a really nice feature and it should have been in a long time ago, so that's good for everyone who has those vision impairments. And lots of new functionality stuff basically, but that's pretty much about it for the patch notes, or at least the preliminary patch notes for 4.3. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.